Bible, its mysteries, through the presentation of Pastor Jose Gutierrez.
I want to thank you, all of you, for being here this Sabbath, especially those of you who were at the Holiday Inn with me for the last 4 weeks. Thank you so much. Did you learn anything?
Yes.
You learned a lot because we really searched the scriptures. We went through the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, in between, and the two together. It was just wonderful experience for me, and I'm sure it was for you as well. God has given us the truth, and we need to explore it. It's there. We just need to look for it. So thank you, all of you who helped me out with this. And so this is the question. The fourth commandment states that you should not do any work. So how do you keep the Sabbath of the Lord holy? What can you do on the Sabbath? This is a good question. Before I answer the question, let me tell you about my wife. She's here, so I'm okay. She's listening, so I'm not hiding anything from her. But when I first met my wife, she was already in the church. I was in the church, I was attending. I was helping Pastor Arias. He sent me to this church way over there in Umatilla. I go, why do I have to go to Umatilla, Oregon? I'm in Walla Walla. And he said, well, I need somebody to help in Umatilla, so can you go there? He said, okay. So we went together to introduce me to the congregation. And there she was. My wife was in the choir singing, and I saw her, and in my self, I talk to myself a lot, and so I say to myself, self, this is your girl right there. And so this was 38 years, 39 years, something like that. And then we got to talking. We went out to a couple of days and whatnot. And then one day she said to me, she said, I asked, what do you do Sabbath? And she said, nothing. You're supposed to keep it holy. So what do you do? So I just stay home and watch TV. She didn't know. Nobody had told her. So every Sabbath, and she was baptized, she'd stay home and watch TV. She didn't go anywhere. She just stayed home because obviously nobody told her what to do. She was keeping it holy, staying home, watching TV all day. And I go, no, man, okay, well, you have to learn how to keep the Sabbath. So this question brought that back to me. So I thought I'd share it with you. Now she's good. She's doing good now. So I have to keep the Sabbath holy. Well, the Sabbath is a holy day. Holy means to be set apart. I had to write this down because it's a page and a half or something like that. But I'll go through it real quick. It's a sacred, it's set apart. The Sabbath is different from all other days on it. We're to set aside our normal routine and dedicate our time to God. The Sabbath is a day for enjoying God's presence. Have you ever wondered why God rested on the seventh day? Not because he was tired. This is an almighty God, so he doesn't get tired. He simply desires time to sit with you and stay with you and commune with you. I imagine that first Sabbath when Adam was created, that very first Sabbath that appeared to Adam and Eve, and he said, guys, come on, let's take a walk around the garden that I created for you. And I believe that they spent time together in communion, sharing the creation that he had just accomplished with Adam and Eve. And that's wonderful because this is what we need to do. Nature is called what? The second book of God. Nature is the second book of God. You can learn a lot from just walking into nature. It's very important to spend time. I can just hear Jesus, look at this, I don't know what I created for you. And hey, how about this? Did you see this? And so that's how you want to keep the Sabbath. God created us. He knows our souls needs the rest. So we need to be refreshed and we need to be fulfilled. What better way to get fulfilled than in the presence of God? I mean, you get uplifted, you get spiritually re-energized, and you'll go for the next 6 days like energized money. You know, just go because you've been energized, spiritually energized. So, no social media. Similar to TV, social media is a distraction from God. Cutting out these types of distractions will go a long way in keeping your Sabbath a holiday. So don't spend your Sabbath glued to the computer or the cell phone. Only if you want to listen to music, listen to Christian music. This is a good rejuvenating of the soul, Christian music. Spend extra time reading your Bible. I don't know how many of you read the Bible on Sabbath. A lot of people take a break from the Bible because they go through the whole Bible during the week and they say, well, I go to church and don't read the Bible. And so, yeah, it is advisable to read the scriptures occasionally on the Sabbath, especially if you have a part of the program. Have a family Bible study. That's wonderful. You know, what we used to do with our kids, and this is honest, true, my wife is listening to me, we made it on Friday nights, we made it a special dinner, she made a special dinner, and then after the dinner, what did we do? We got together with all our kids, we sit down, and we said, okay, this is the time to study God's Word. And so now we're in the evening on Friday night, this is the beginning of the Sabbath, and so all of our kids are lined up right there. You know, and they're just waiting for us. What's going to happen? And so we instruct them as to what the Sabbath is like and what we need to do. We had a meeting. We congregate with the purpose of finding out exactly where they were spiritually and what is it that they needed to, if they have questions, if there's anything about scriptures or something going on in their lives that we needed to know. That was the time to find out. Spend time with the children together on Friday nights or the Sabbath evening too. It's good. No housework. Remember that on Sabbath. No housework. Leave everything for the next day. Don't burden yourself with housework. You know, we have a terrific story in the scriptures in the book of John about Martha and Mary, the two of them. And Jesus went to visit them. And what was Martha doing? They just hurry up, cleaning and getting things done, making some tacos and enchiladas. I don't know. You know, she was looking for Jesus. And what was Maria? What was Mary doing? Sitting at the feet of Jesus, listening to him talking. You see the difference? Forget the housework. If the house didn't get clean, so what? One more day is not going to hurt it. Don't worry about it. Leave it for the next day. Spend time outside enjoying God's creation. I'm almost done. Have a family worship time. I think we covered that. Invite friends over for fellowship. We do that all the time. My wife, she's very unhappy when she's at home by herself or with me. She needs company. She needs somebody. She's a very sociable individual. And so even last night we had Larry and his wife and Merari and his wife and the children. And so we got together. Get together with families. Get together with church people. It's wonderful when you come together, especially on Friday nights or even Saturday nights after the Sabbath. Get together. Don't be a recluse. Don't go away by yourself. It's never, we're social individuals. God created us to be social individuals, not to be hermits. And so the Sabbath is a sacred and divine institution, a privilege and benefit, not a task or drudgery. God never designed it to be a burden to us. Therefore, we must not make it so to ourselves either. The Sabbath was instituted for the good of mankind. Man was not made for the Sabbath, but the Sabbath was made for man. Amen? That's how you keep the Sabbath. I think my wife is going to kill me about that story. So she spent all day, she didn't do any work, she didn't do anything, she just stayed home watching TV. But it was just a funny story. I laugh about it when I hear it. Anyway. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath.
Good to see you. How many visitors we have? We have a bunch of visitors. If you're not a member of the church, raise your hand. John, good to see you, man. I've been wondering about you. We have Joyce and her son. And then back there we have more people. The lady's grandson there and other folks over here. Man, it's good to have you all here today. We're going to conclude the presentations of the last days tonight at 6 p.m. here in the church. So please be here at 6 p.m. We're going to conclude with the Scarlet Harlot. That's the last presentation. The lady in red. The other woman. So you need to be here, but that's a good presentation. I encourage you to be here. Today we're going to talk about the United States in prophecy. How many of you knew that the United States are actually in prophecy, are in the Bible? How many of you knew that? So you see, half of this church didn't know that. So I'm glad we're going to have that. This is a very hard topic for me to address, and I'll tell you why. I am a United States citizen. I was not born here, so it's kind of difficult for me to tell you something bad about this country when in reality I really love this country. I enjoy it. 2 of our sons fought for this country. One in the Army for 20 years and the other one in the Navy for 10 years. So you know that we are a patriotic family. And so when it comes to this prophecy, it troubles me, but I know I got to stick to the truth. And so I'm going to bring that to you in a minute as we continue the service. So we're going to skip the Hail Mary. We already did that. We already have the question and answer. We have a special music. Thank you, SP. So let's move into the topic. Are you ready?
Yes.
Amen. As I dig into this topic, and the more I think about this, it makes sense. It makes sense that the most powerful and influential nation in the world will play a vital part in the final events of the world's history. Did you know that? Before we move into our presentation, let me tell you about tonight's presentation. We will look into the lady in red, the Scarlet Harlot. You will find the topic of the lady in chapter 17 of the book of Revelation. There's so much to share about this woman or church, because a woman in prophecy represents what? A church. So a woman represents that there's so much to tell you about this lady in red, about this church that is being represented in prophecy. But that will be tonight's presentation. So I'm going to stop talking about her in an effort that you will come back tonight at 6 o'clock. So, but even more amazing than that is the fact that the Bible will reveal how this powerful nation, the United States of America, came to exist. We're going to go look into that. We will be in the book of Revelation chapter 13, because these verses will give you a prophetic picture of the United States in the last days. But before we do that, let's have a word of prayer. Amen? Let's start with that. Say Heavenly Father. Father, I thank you so much for bringing all these folks here today, Father. Especially the visitors, especially John, Father. He was gone for a while, but he has returned, and we missed him. And happy that Brother Pena brought him to the church as he requested. So we thank you for him and all the other visitors. For those who've never been in the church, thank you for being here. God is welcoming you as well. So Father, thank you for them. Be with us as we study the scriptures. Cleanse me from all of my sins, for I ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, thank you so much. It was 1573, and the country was Belgium. The city was Antwerp. When they broke into her house, Mrs. Wentz had been teaching the Bible to her neighbors, and the authorities in Belgium wanted her to be quiet. So on October 5th, 1573, they went into her home and arrested her. They took her to prison, where they beat her within an inch of her life. And then they screwed her tongue to the roof of her mouth. That way, she could not speak anymore. That way, they hope to silence her permanently. And just in case that didn't work, just in case, they drag her out of town and burn her at the stake. Why? What was her crime? Well, she had been sharing the Bible with her neighbors. And more than anything, the authorities of the day wanted her quiet. If we burned her, they thought, if we burn her at the stake, she can keep spreading the Bible anymore. That will be it for her. And the word will never get out there. Well, that's the way it was in the Dark Ages. The time of spiritual ignorance of many. That's how much the dragon hated the Word of God. Now he knows that the only real power he has is in darkness. And if he keeps people in darkness from the Word of God, he's happy. If he keeps people ignorant of the Word of God, he is content. He's accomplishing what he wanted to do. But when the truth comes out, if the truth comes out, he is powerless. He hates the Word of God. He hates the truth. Now, he's happy to have you half of the truth. He's happy to have you in churches that teach only half of the truth. He's not going to tell you anything. He's not going to come and he will tell you different because he wants you there because you're only getting half of the truth. But when you get the whole truth, he is very unhappy. So all through the Dark Ages, he tried to silence God's people. More than 50 million people lost their lives because of what they believed. And there was nowhere to go. You couldn't escape if you were in those days. The wrath and the fury of the dragon. In France, more than 10,000 people died in one single day. That was the St. Bartholomew massacre. More than 10,000 people in one single night because of what they believed. In northern Italy, the wildernesses were hunted like animals. Why? Because they were writing out the Bible by hand and sharing it with people across Europe. Group after group hunted like animals. And the church knew that it was coming. Right back in the days of the apostle, the Bible says the dragon was angry and there was nowhere to go. Revelation 12:13-16. When the dragon saw that he had been hurled to the earth, he pursued the woman. Who is the woman?
Church.
The church. He pursued the church who had given birth to the male child. Who is the male child? Jesus. The woman was given the two wings of a great eagle so that she might fly to the place prepared for her in the desert, where she will be taken care of for a time, times and a half a time, out of the serpent's reach. Then, from his mouth, the serpent spewed water like a river. What is water in prophecy? People. To overtake the woman and swept her away with a torrent. But the earth helped the woman by opening its mouth and swallowing the river that the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. So for 1,260 years, God kept his people alive. In the secret places, in the wilderness, they lived in caves, they lived in the woods, they worshiped in secret. They didn't want it to be found because they were going to be killed if they were found. They read the Bible and they copied the scriptures. And because of that, 50 million were paid for it, were killed because of that. So the woman fled to the desert. God was doing something to relieve the pressure of the woman, the church. Something happened to give the woman the chance. So the church hid in the wilderness for 1,260 years. A time, times, and a half a time. And now, the earth opens up to help the woman. She suddenly has some place to go. Suddenly, there's a place for her. Let me ask you a question. Where did the persecuted masses of Christian believers of Europe run to? Where? They ran here. They came from North America. They came from North America, the Puritans, the Baptists, the Methodists, the Quakers, thousands of Christians of every walk of life. They came to a place that promised them life, where they could follow the dictates of their own conscience without persecution. That's what they were looking for. So they came here to America. They came to a place where no religious power has been before, a place of spiritual solace, a place where they and their families can worship God without being afraid of consequences. They came here. They came to a republic without a king or a bishop. They came to freedom. And to this day, as new Americans sail into the New York City harbor, a place of freedom, a place for God's people to run to, they are greeted by the Statue of Liberty, the Mother of Exile, she's called. And on the face of that statue is a poem written by Emma Lazarus in 1886. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. I left my lot beside the golden door. A place of freedom, a place for God's people to run to. There was a wall of separation, keeping the hands of the government off of the church and keeping the hands of the church off of the government. Why did they build that wall? What purpose did they have? What reason? Because the early Americans remember what had happened in Europe. When the church got their hands on the government, that very act led to intolerance. And intolerance led to persecution. And persecution led to killing masses of Christian individuals. Many of them, 50 million of them. So they were determined that America will never be that way. They built a country where they had the right to believe whatever they want to believe, even if it was the wrong thing to believe, they were entitled to it. This became the land of the free, but not for long. John the Revelator saw in a vision the rising of the beast. Revelation 13, 1 and 2. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. So this beast with 7 heads, we can call her the first beast. And it's not alone in her mission. Let me add that most of the leaders of the Christian churches, beginning in the 1500s, agreed to say that this beast is none other than the Roman papacy power. Remember, the beast in Bible prophecy symbolizes what? A nation, a kingdom, according to Daniel 7. But in verse number 5 of Revelation 13, we read that this power is limited. Revelation 13:5. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. Did you notice something here? I'm talking about a beast, but it says him. Did you notice that? Now you did. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. So the beast, this person, was given authority for only 42 months. The Bible predicts that the papacy will lose all its influence and power at the end of the 42 months. Now this prophecy was fulfilled in 1798. When Napoleon's General Louis Alexander Gutierrez took the Pope captive. And at that time, the papal power received its deadly wound. But the prophecy also says that the rise of another nation was coming up just about at the same time that the papacy was being wounded. Verse 11, just to make sure, tells us that. Let's read it. Revelation 13:11. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a what? Like a dragon. Okay. I don't want to lose you here, so pay attention. The papal captivity mentioned in verse number 10 took place in 1798. And the new power, on verse 11, was seen emerging at that time. Now, I am sure you know that the United States had some accomplishments. Let me bring that up for you. Early accomplishments of the United States of America. Number one, declared its independence in 1776. It voted the Constitution in 1787, adopted the Bill of Rights in 1791, and was clearly organized as a world power by what year? 1798. So the Bible presents a time that fits perfectly to the United States. No other power could possibly qualify. Even if I look into history, I will not find any other country being from during that time, especially those dates. But now we have this question. What does it mean, the beast coming up from the earth? What is the significance of coming up out of the earth? Now the Bible says that the nation comes out of the earth instead of the water, as did the first beast mentioned in Daniel chapter 7 and also in Revelation. I am sure you remember from other presentations during these last 4 weeks that the beast with 7 heads, this first beast comes out of what? Out of the water. Now what does water symbolize in prophecy? People, nations, powers, kingdoms. Let's read Revelation 17 and verse 15. We need to be sure of that. And he said unto me, the waters which you saw where the harlot sits are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So yes, if the waters, let me ask you this, if the waters represents peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues, then the earth represents totally the opposite. It will mean that this new nation will arise in an area of the world that has been virtually unpopulated. Are you with me here? Amen. Before the late 1700s, it could not rise among the crowded nations of struggling nations on the old world. It had to come up in a sparsely and unpopulated area or continents. Also, the passage says that it looks like a lamb and it has 2 horns, unlike the other beast of Revelation. This beast has no crowns. So we now have this question, what is symbolized by the absence of crowns? Well, very simple. Horns represents kingdoms or powers or governments, according to Daniel 7 and Daniel 8. In this case, they represent the 2 governing principles of the United States, one being civil liberty and the other religious liberty. Now, these 2 governing principles have also been labeled republicanism, which means a government without what? Without a king. And Protestantism. So you got republicanism with 1 horn and Protestantism. Protestantism means what? A church without what? A pope. That's what Protestantism means. A church without a pope. Crowns represents kingdoms or kings. Absence of crowns represents a republican form of government rather than a monarchy. In layman terms, no kings, no crowns, no kings. Lamb-like horns denotes an innocent, young, non-oppressive, peace-loving, and spiritual nation. In fact, Jesus is referred to as a lamb 28 times in the book of Revelation alone. 28 times. So this new government was trying to uphold Jesus' principles. No other power on earth can possibly fit the characteristics and time slot of the lamb-horned beast except the United States. Now, what I'm going to tell you here is kind of jolting and disquieting at the same time. The United States is truly a great country. Amen? With its freedom of conscience, freedom of the speech, freedom of the press, enterprise, the protection it provides, its opportunities, its sympathy for the orientation of the underdog, and its strong Christian principles. It's not a perfect country, but even then, many people have the desire to become United States citizens. But prophecy says that this country will change as we approach the last days. As we come into the last days of the world, this country will change according to prophecy, precipitating hardships to God's people. The question before us now is, what does it mean when the prophecy says the Lamb will speak as a dragon? Well, if we want the right answer, we need to look at the right book. Amen? We need to look at the Bible. So let's see what the Bible in Revelation has to say about that question. Revelation 13:12. He exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence. You notice he says the first beast? Because he is the second beast. And he makes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose fatal wound was healed. This is talking about the second beast in the scriptures, saying that this beast has the power to force everyone to worship the first beast. Do you remember who is symbolized by the first beast? The beast, the first beast. You remember who was symbolized? The papacy. And the papacy, Rome, speaking as a dragon, means that the United States, under the influence of Satan, will in the end, remember that, in the end time, force people to worship contrary to conscience the first beast, or be punished. But how specifically will accomplish that? Well, notice the four crucial points. Number one, it exercises all the power of the first beast before him. So this is the time for me to offer a disclaimer. It bothers me to say this because I love this country. I mentioned that to you earlier. Like you can say, I'm a U.S. citizen. I went to school here, I went to college. I got help when I needed it. And so it is not easy for me to tell you this presentation, but I have some responsibility to tell it to you because I'm going by the truth in the scriptures. So let me read the slides again. Exercise all the power of the first beast before him. In other words, the United States will become a persecuting power that will force people to go against their conscience, as did Papal Rome, which is symbolized in the first half of Revelation chapter 13. Let's read point number 2. Caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. In other words, the United States will lead the nations of the world in forcing worship of and allegiance to the papal Antichrist. Those who refuse to join this movement will be considered divisive, stubborn, radicals, and unpatriotic. So the Bible labels Protestant America at the end of time as a false prophet. You can read on Revelation 19:20 and then 20:10. Why? Because it will spiritually and trustworthy guide many into its ranks, but instead will be a satanic in conduct. Jesus' warning to us today regarding prophecy is found in the book of John chapter 14 verse 29, where we read, "Now I have told you before it happens, so when it happens, you what? You may believe." So I will not be surprised when this happens, because it will be happening. It's prophesied and it will be happening. Every prophecy foretold in the Bible has come true. Point number 3. Saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had a wound by the sword and did live. In other words, the United States will make an image to the beast by legislating religious practices. Are you with me so far? Okay. Now let me stop right here just to show you how it is already making an image to the Vatican. Now this is the most important building in Washington and in all of America. Are you with me here? Yes. Okay. This is the most important building in the United States. And this is the Vatican building. the most important building in the Vatican? Is it me, or do I see some reflection or image in here? It looks pretty much identical, doesn't it?
Sure it does.
So we are already creating an image to the beast. This is the Vatican building, the most important building in the Vatican. So there's an image there. This is the obelisk at the Vatican, another very important monument in Rome. Let me give you a close-up. This is a close-up of the obelisk. The same monument in a close-up view. Did you know that this obelisk was brought in from Egypt?
Yes.
From the ancient times? Where they worshiped the sun god? And do you know they used this to point towards the sun? And when it was right at the same height, they all came together around the obelisk to worship the sun god. The same monument in a close-up. Now, this is a Washington monument in Washington, D.C. A very important monument. By the way, we've been there. My wife and I were there. Not that it matters. I just thought I'd bring that to you. There's no meaning. I just thought I'd say that. The same monument in a close-up. Is it me, or I'm just imagining things? I don't think it's done purposely, but prophecy is being fulfilled for quite some time now. This is not something that just happened last week or last month. Unknowingly and unpurposely. So maybe they don't even know they're working on these things, you know. Again, a very important building. This is a building called St. Peter's Cathedral in the Vatican, Rome. Okay, let me go back to my topic. 4 crucial points. Saying to them that dwell in the air that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live. The United States will make an image to the beast by legislating religious practices. You know what this word means?
Making a law.
Making it law. Thank you, Dr. Harris. Making laws to religious practices. And he will pass laws requiring worship and force people to either obey or face death. And what am I talking about?
Sunday.
The Sunday law. Thank you. The National Sunday Law. This action is the result of the church-state combination or unity that in the times past the papacy utilized at the height of her power during the Middle Ages, when millions of Christians and non-Christians were killed. The United States welcomed by civil government and apostate Protestantism in a marriage that will support the papacy. It will then influence all the nations of the world to follow its example at the same time the beast did. Number 4, and cause that as many as will not worship the beast, the image of the beast, shall be killed. So many Christian churches will unite with the Pope just for the sole purpose of surviving. That is why in the Bible the Church of Rome is called a mother church. You know that? The mother of what? Of harlots. For the sole purpose, no wonder Jesus says, for many are called, but how many are chosen?
Few.
Very few. The United States, as head of this international movement, will next influence the nations of the world to impose a universal death sentence upon all who refuse to worship the beast or his image. So if the Christian refuses to follow the dictates of the law, going against the Sunday law, not for the Sunday law, but going against the Sunday law, guess what's going to happen? You have a death sentence on you. Did you know that most Protestant denominations agree that another name for a worldwide coalition is Babylon the Great? Most of the Protestant churches agree with that. This worldwide allegiance will, in the name of Christ, substitute the power of the law for the Holy Spirit's persuasion, it says, and will force the worship. In all this going on, we wonder over what specific issues will force be utilized and the death sentence passed. Well, let's get the Bible to answer that question. Revelation 13, 15, and 17. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast shall both speak and cause as many as will not worship the image of the beast to be killed. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So the final point of contention will be worshiping and obeying the beast and receiving its mark, which is the Sunday as the day of the Lord, or as the day of worship, versus worshiping and obeying Christ and receiving his mark or seal, which is the Holy Sabbath on the seventh day. On a different note, the Hartford Weekly newspaper in February 22nd of 1884 published this statement made by the papacy. The church changed Sabbath to Sunday, and all the world bows down and worships upon that day in silent obedience to the mandates of the Catholic Church. So the issue is and will be all about worshiping. Who are you going to worship? Are you going to worship God, the Creator, or are you going to worship the beast or man? Who are you going to worship? Worship God or worship man? So the Bible is clear. Two superpowers will merge in the end times. The United States of America and the papacy. The United States of America will support the papacy by leading a drive to force the people of the world to worship the papacy and receive its mark, or else face death. But this is not the first time it happens, to be honest. During the Dark Ages, the papacy came together with Rome and started persecuting God's people. More than 50 million Christians were put to death. So, history will repeat itself? Yes. Let me end with this question. This question that somebody always asks me when I finish this. Will the death of the Pope or the election of a new president affect the prophecy?
No.
No. Not at all. The prophecy will be fulfilled no matter who is Pope or president. That's the reason why I never says that the Pope is the Antichrist. No, sir. Because I never know if he's going to have a heart attack today and be a different Pope tomorrow. So I cannot tell you, and you shouldn't believe it either if somebody tells you that. I cannot tell you that this president is going to initiate everything to come together with the papacy. I cannot say that because maybe this president will have a heart attack tonight and have another president tomorrow. So we cannot say that. So the Antichrist is not the Pope, it's the papacy, which is the office of the Pope. It's the Vatican that controls the papacy. Did you know there's about 48 people voted to get this man as the Pope? So he wasn't really chosen by one person. It was chosen by more than 48 archbishops or bishops or whatever. Those guys Anyway, the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter who is the Pope or president. The process may speed up or slow down the fulfillment, but the final outcome will be completed. It will be assured by Bible because it's written in the Bible. So what can we do about it? Nothing. The stage is set. The time is at hand. When? Only God knows. Our purpose is to be ready before it happens. So let me ask you, are you ready? Because the world happens soon. We hope and pray that we are ready. Remember, this is the end of this presentation. Tonight at 6, we have the next and final presentation. The Scarlet Harlot. It's got a lot of information you don't want to miss. If you miss it, you're going to miss a lot. So at 6 o'clock, we're going to have potluck after we finish here. We have one last hymn to come up, and then that will take care of the service for today. Thank you so much.
Okay.